Welcome to Om Times TV, a division of Om Times Media and Broadcasting. Welcome to the Perfect Life Awakening Show, hosted by Royce Morales. Royce has been a transformational facilitator, teaching groundbreaking, spiritually based courses for more than 4 decades. She is the author of 3 books about her teachings. Join Royce as she takes you on a journey into how to live your best life and find your true purpose through discovering the origins of subconscious, disempowering notions and releasing them. She talks with experts and inspiring people just like you who learned to trust their intuitive inner wisdom, which led to life-changing shifts. Today, her guests live an empowered existence and are helping change the world to a higher consciousness place based on truth and love. You deserve to awaken to, align with, and embody your true self and live a life filled with love. Transform yourself from triggered to empowered and create your perfect life. Here is your host, Royce Morales.
Hello, welcome everyone. I'm excited to be here as always to share some really interesting information today with my guest who's going to talk about manifestation and how to get what you want in life. But before I introduce him, I want to just do a little promo of myself. And first of all, I do have a Substack blog that I've been working probably for a year, and it's called Royce's Ramblings. So just find it on Substack, and it's free to subscribe. So enjoy all my ramblings. And the other really exciting thing that's happening is I was invited to do a panel discussion. And so I've joined forces with 3 other amazing women. And we are going to talk about awakening. What does it mean to awaken? That word is just bantered around all the time. But what does it really mean? So the title of it, which one of the speakers came up with, which I just love, and the title is Awakening or Remembering. Haven't we done this before? And that's really true. So we're going to find out what it means, why we're afraid of it, why we're trying for it, what is it we're trying for, and maybe even some techniques or awakenings to help awaken you. So that's all my promotion today. And I'd like to introduce my guest, Adam Tallamy. He already told me how to pronounce it, and I've already done it wrong. Welcome, Adam. I'm so glad you're here.
Hello, my dear. Nice to meet you.
All the way from London.
All the way from sunny London. I'm baking here today, so it's a rare occasion I get to say that. So I'm
Yeah, isn't it usually just foggy? That's the impression we all get of London. No?
It's not quite that bad, but yeah, there's a lot of rain. It's not normally super hot, so yeah, we're enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, it looks like a wonderful background or a wonderful place to live behind you, so that's great.
Thank you.
So let me tell you a little bit about Adam. He is a leading life coach, transformational speaker, and teacher. And for over a decade, he's helped hundreds of clients from all over the world get what they want. And I think that's a pretty universal thing, that we all want something. But his work gets deeper, gets to the roots, and helps you release those blocks getting in the way, helps you overcome certain challenges to build a foundation capable of receiving what you want. And part of it is helping you discover your life purpose. So that's really awesome. He's in the process of writing a book that should be finished and out in the world in October. So I find, and you and I definitely are on the same path. It's exactly what I do in my work. I find that getting what you want is an ongoing process. And many people give up, or the struggle is too hard, or their parents say, oh, that's silly, don't do that. Or maybe they're not even clear about what they do want. So I think it's really important that we get to the root and we get to resolve all of those things, all of those false notions and false beliefs and fears and issues and all that stuff. But first of all, before we even get into that, tell us a little bit about how you started doing this. Tell us your story.
Okay. So my story, I guess my awakening started in 2008, and I was running a recruitment company at the time in London, and it was just after the crash, and I wasn't spiritual. If I'd have told you I was going to be doing what I'm doing now, I'd have probably laughed you out of the room. And one day I was going to a meeting up in the north of England, and I thought I was having a heart attack. And did I stop and go to hospital? No. I got on the train, went to the meeting, fell asleep in the HR director's office of a major bank. And at which point my colleague nudged me, woke me up and said, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm really not okay." Had a breakdown at the local train station, started crying in the middle of the station. And I was like, I think maybe I'm dying. So again, didn't go to hospital, came back to London. It's like a 3 or 4 hour journey. And they basically, it was pleurisy, which is water on the lung, which has the same symptoms as a heart attack. And so thank God I wasn't dying, but it kept me off work for 2 years.
Wow.
And I basically just had to keep going inside, and it made me stop. And I had to start asking some questions I'd never asked myself before. Why am I doing what I'm doing? What's this all about? What's my purpose? And why haven't I had the success that I always wanted? And those questions have been burning inside me ever since. And those are the questions that I help other people answer now. And I believe, in fact, I know, I found the formula for success. And it is a process, but if you apply it to your life, you can get what you want too.
Yay.
Yay.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, just on your story, why did you choose to not go to the hospital during all that time?
Do you know what? I was a mild workaholic, and I was just determined that I was going to go to these 2 important meetings. And I think that shows you how kind of, to me, that seemed pretty normal, but I think that shows you how extremely on the hard edge I was living at the time. It was kind of crazy. I think if you wanted to show a mirror up to someone and show them, actually, you think you're dying, but you're going to go to the 2 meetings.
Sounds like something I would have done too. Yes. All right. So you just jumped in and started helping other people with what you've learned about yourself, or how did that happen?
Yes, it was a gradual process. I first of all, I knew I needed something, and I said a prayer, and I said, "Send me someone to help me." And the word meditation came back, so I did a Google search and found a meditation lady who lived locally to my mother's, which is where I'd gone back to convalesce. And she was a miracle worker, and she worked with the soul. It wasn't just meditation. And I was sitting in her classes because I could just about get there and sit there and not do too much else. And she just, everything she was saying, even though I'd never heard it before, it resonated with me, and I knew it was true. And then I started from there. I just started learning lots of different methodologies and tools, and started helping a few other friends and family out while I was off ill. And I thought, I'm going to become a healer, and that's my mission. And then one day I had the intuition, no, you're going back to recruitment. I was like, what do you mean? Like, no way. And I kept seeing this sign which said, be like water, my friend, as in go with the flow. And I was like, I've struggled and fought against it. And eventually I gave in, went back to recruitment. Had to shave my hair and my beard off. It got a bit straggly. But what that helped me do is get one foot back in the business world and one foot in the spiritual, which isn't that common, you know.
Yes.
And then I work with all sorts of people, but I work with a lot of entrepreneurs as well. So that's really helped me get into the right state. I'm very focused on doing the deep inner work, but with a purpose. And if that's the bottom line, or if it's happiness or a better relationship, then that's my focus. So it's been a journey.
And so the technique that I'll have to describe in a few minutes, but the technique and the process that you used, did it just arrive intuitively, or how did that happen?
I've kind of picked loads of things up as I've gone. Some techniques have also come in intuitively, and I've mashed it all together. I call it a smorgasbord. So I've got a toolkit for a tool and a key that will unlock any lock. And I really mean that. Like, I've yet to come across the person that I haven't been able to get to the root cause. And if they're willing and to be persistent and to keep showing up, we always get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And that's what then changes their life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the word persistent is so important because, we're such a fast food society. If it doesn't happen instantly, forget it. I'm not going to do it. So, some of this will take a long time. Yeah.
It can. And everyone wants to take the tablet, right? I ask people to work with me for a minimum 2 months. We work once a week for 90 minutes. And then I'm kind of in their corner, giving them homeworks and exercises to do. And in that 2 months, they can learn a lot of the tools to then go on and do it themselves.
Yeah.
And also they're going to see some big shifts.
Yeah.
But, it's like anything. You don't build a business just in 2 months, right? The more you put into it, the longer you're at it, the more you chip away, the bigger and the more success you have. It's exactly the same as that. So.
Yeah. I always give a silly metaphor. It's not too silly. It's very true. And that is, we're kind of surrounded by a pile of, shall we say, shit. And what I give people is a shovel and they start digging it up. But what they end up doing is exposing the next level, the next layer. So, and it gets deeper and deeper. Yeah,
it does. And there's always another layer, as you know. But also, after a point, life starts getting better and better. I kind of do this strange graph. That's my axis, okay? It's like life is going in that trajectory, 45 degrees, but we go up and down, up and down, up and down. It's like we go up, then we get really triggered. We come back down, then we go back up, we get really triggered again. And that's where the juice is. That's where the next big jump comes from.
Yeah.
So it's not linear. We should, if you can reframe all the shit that happens to us in life and all the stuff we have to deal with, those are the gifts. And once you get that in your mind, it changes your whole experience of living, actually.
Yeah.
And also for me, it means that the universe always has your back.
Yes.
The universe is always giving you the thing that you need, even if it's horrible.
Yes.
Actually, in a really strange way, that's where the juice is for you. That's where the healing is. That's what's going to, even if it's just that you have to learn strength, to find strength and resilience.
Yeah.
Some of the things people go through are horrific, right? And you would never choose it consciously, but your soul would, because your soul has that deeper love for you. It wants the very, very best for you. And the soul works over lifetime, so you don't always see the full picture in one lifetime.
Absolutely. Yeah. When my husband had a massive stroke and I had to close everything, my healing center, my store, everything, all I kept thinking was, there's a bigger reason for this. There's lessons, there's things I'm cleaning up that I'm not even aware of. And it's been almost 11 years now. And there's still things that show up for me that are supposed to be learned from this experience. And it just is mind boggling. So even the most challenging, shall we say, experiences, we've chosen on some level to really assist our evolution.
Yeah, they're the best ones. Again, you'd never wish it, but they're the biggest and the best growths.
Yeah.
I call those the gifts that keep on giving.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah. In fact, I wrote a book about it. So, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So what blocks do most people that you've worked with, what have you noticed in terms of what prevents people from getting what they want or from manifesting a life that they want? What are those big ones?
Well, I've been very fortunate that I've worked with people literally from every corner of life, from homeless people right the way up to billionaires and some very wealthy and big name families. And it's very interesting. It might not be in that they all have a money issue per se, but everyone has the same underlying set of issues. And it's, typically it all boils down to not feeling good enough. But, the surface level above that is fear, insecurity, self-doubt, not wanting to be rejected. Those are the big ones that show up time and time again, as I'm sure you know, right?
Yes. Yeah. What about The one that I always find with my clients is I call it deservingness. There's a part of us that says, oh, I just don't deserve. And when you start looking back for reasons for that, there are subconscious events that they have done that they're still beating themselves up about or feel guilty about or have decided, oh, I'm just a terrible human. Do you get to people on that level as well?
Yeah, that comes up sometimes. I mean, most people watching probably won't know that the healer or the coach attracts the people that they need as well.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm not saying I don't know you that well, but maybe that's a pattern that you've had. I've had that come up sometimes. Mine is often don't feel good enough, don't want to be seen, but it can be anything. I mean, it's not like you just get the specific issues that you've got to work on, but that happens more than people would realize. Most
Yeah.
healers don't share that little tidbit of information.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So tell us a little bit about the process that you do with people. How do you approach it? How do you start? What is it about?
Yes. And the initial program is 8 weeks. We do 90 minutes a week. And people come in normally with a set of challenges or a place that they want to get to. And a lot of people want a structure. And I don't have a structure other than to say it will all unfold perfectly in exactly the way it's meant to. And it always does. And what I mean by that is people will either come each week with a specific issue, something's just happened, a friend of theirs has just really upset them, they've just been made redundant from work, their relationship is in a bad place, and we'll work through that in the session. And we'll get them, by the end of the session, we'll get them back to feeling good again. And we've addressed it at that surface level. So let's say the surface issue is falling out with partner. So we heal that, but then that's just this presenting surface issue to help us see what's beneath it. So beneath any surface level issue, i.e. what's playing out day to day for us, there's always a deeper truth going on. Mm-hmm. And it's the deeper truth that the universe is trying to draw to our attention by going, hey, there's something here and it keeps happening. You've got to sort this out. And if you don't sort it out at that deeper level, it will just keep happening. Okay. And people go, why do I keep having this same issue? And so if it's a situation with a partner, it could be something with mum or dad, for example. Often goes back to childhood, not always. Often goes back to childhood. So it might be, oh, actually, yeah, I didn't get the love and attention that I wanted from my dad because he was all busy and away a lot of the time. And guess what? So is my partner, for example. Now, it could be anything across the spectrum, but that's just one example. Mm-hmm. So we deal at both the surface and at the deeper level. And when you change it at the deeper level, obviously there might be 5 different parts or layers to it, but you keep chipping away. And once it's gone, then guess what? That pattern doesn't play out for you anymore. The partner will suddenly stop doing that thing, or you'll split up with the partner and you'll meet someone who doesn't do that. So it's quite miraculous sometimes. People can't quite believe it. I say, oh, yeah, that hasn't happened for 6 months now since we worked on it. I'm like, what a surprise.
Yeah. So when you say you chip away and you get deeper, where do you go in terms of depth with people?
To wherever they need to get to. We'll start off with the emotions. How are you feeling about it? And we'll clear the emotions. So, okay, I'm feeling really angry at my partner. I'm feeling really sad. Okay, we work through that. We clear the emotions till they get to a place where actually I feel okay now. And that can be all that's required. But sometimes you have to get right down into doing like inner child work, where you talk to the inner child. How's the inner child doing? Well, the inner child's really upset with my partner, but actually she's really upset with dad. And we need to heal that. We need to have a conversation with her. And then you need to bring the inner child into the heart, because the child is just still playing out the same patterns from childhood, when in reality, it doesn't need to continue to do that. And most people aren't aware that they have an inner child even, but once you become aware, it will come up more and more. And you can start to do it. Once someone's shown you how to do it, you can do a lot of it for yourself, which is my goal with all my clients, is to teach them most of the tools that I use so they can go away and do this for themselves. I also work sometimes with past life regression. And 15 years ago, I would have laughed you out of the room at the very idea of past lives. So I get it. You don't need to believe in it, but I can promise you that once you experience it, it will start to shift things in your life now. And you don't need to believe it. I just actually finished a session with a new client. We did a first past life regression. And he was like, this is really strange, but like he was in the life, he could tell what was happening. There was things going on. There was people. He said, this makes a lot of sense, but I don't really believe in past lives. I said, that's fine. You don't need to. You can just think of it in the way that your mind is presenting the real issue to you in a way that you can understand. And then we worked on it and we changed it anyway. So it doesn't matter. We'll often also do past ancestral patterns. So I can help people go back to maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 generations back where something might have happened. Perhaps someone was attacked, abused, there was a rape, whatever it is, because all of that stuff is still playing out in all of our lives day to day. There's a wonderful healing methodology, maybe you know it, called family constellations, which is just phenomenal. So I trained a little bit in family constellations and business constellations. So that can be very revealing. It kind of shows your relationship with your family and how you are to them, how they are to you. And then you can change those dynamics. You see it very clearly in the 3D. Yeah, those are the main tools, but there's loads more. Whatever is needed.
So do people, just by understanding something logically, they're able to shift it? Or how does that work for you? Because I find that, I can talk till I'm blue in the face with people and explain things logically. And it's like, well, this is because of this and that's because of that. But if they don't get it experientially, it's just like mind chatter. How does that work for you?
Yeah, absolutely the same as you. I'll talk them through it, but I won't go into too much detail because they need to experience it. And once they connect with the emotion and the feelings and the resistance or the pain, that's when they really start to get it. And then when they feel lighter at the end of the session or after you've worked through that particular issue, that's when the light bulbs go off. And, after the first session or two, people start to get it and they kind of relax a little bit and they know, okay, I'm in good hands here. And, we'll try it, and at the end of every session they end up feeling better and they keep coming back. I've got a wonderful testimonial from someone who says exactly that. He said, I was in a desperate place. I would never have done this if I hadn't been desperate. But each time I came, he sort of sorted me out and I felt better, so I kept going back, and thank God I did, kind of thing.
Yeah. I've had some students for decades. Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shit to dig up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So going back to your example about the person that didn't believe in past lives, I was one of those people. When I first started my spiritual journey, I thought the whole idea of reincarnation was one big crock, because to me it was, you're afraid of death, so you invented this whole thing so you don't have to be afraid of death, that you're going to come back and everything's going to be fine. I mean, that was my attitude. And then I started experiencing past life memories, and I couldn't deny them because things would shift for me in this life by locating things in the past. So I just have this funny story to say. I had one of my students, he was a lawyer. Need I say more? And he was very, very, very logical and very left brain and all of that. But he really enjoyed coming to my program. And at one point he said, yeah, but I don't believe in past lives. I said, that's okay. Just meditate and make one up. And so I was working with him, and he had this full-on story that he told that he was, quote, making up. And everything in his life shifted from making up that story. And after the work that I did with him, he said, so do you think I made that up? And I said, well, it came from somewhere. You don't have to worry about it. You just shifted your life, and who cares if it's from a past life?
Wow.
So it was a handy little tool that I developed and I used from that point on with people that were skeptics.
Love that. Yeah, that is a powerful one. Actually, remake the movie, we call that. I'm just going to shut this door because there's a police helicopter hovering literally above me.
They caught you, huh?
It took a while, but yes. 1 second.
There we go.
There we go. That's better.
That's better.
Sorry about that. Yeah, exactly. That, yeah, remake the movie is super powerful. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And words have such power.
Yeah.
And as I'm writing this book, I'm writing a book at the moment about manifestation that you mentioned, and I was really researching about words and their meaning and their power, and going into back some of the ancient myths and things. Abracadabra, for example, literally means, in Aramaic and in the Hebrew, it means speak it into existence.
Interesting. Huh.
I mean, the more you look at it, there are lots of examples of that.
Yeah.
So the words that you use every day, you have to really watch your words.
Yeah.
And the things you repeat many times, even if you repeat it as a joke, you have to really watch those ones. They can backfire on you big time.
Yeah. Well, it's just about the middle of our show, and we need to take a little bit of a break. And when we come back, I want you to talk more specifically about manifestation, and we'll get into some more details about that. So I'm talking with Adam Tallamy, and we'll be right back.
Thanks, Royce.
Om Times TV. Do you crave joy but feel stuck? Do you go through life feeling constantly triggered and frustrated? Fear is likely the culprit, and subconscious fear is likely sabotaging you. Perfect Life Awakening is a time-tested, spiritually based approach to inner transformation created by Royce Morales. For over 40 years, she has helped people get to the origins of subconscious fears and ultimately help them find their true purpose and a life full of joy. Sign up for Perfect Life Awakening today at roycemorales.com. You deserve to go from triggered to empowered, shifting your life with Perfect Life Awakening. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
Welcome back. I'm talking with Adam Tallamy, and we are talking about all kinds of things. Manifestation is the direction I'd like to spend the rest of the show talking about. How do you explain manifestation? I know that every single spiritual training or spiritual thought or whatever, they always talk about manifestation. You've got to visualize, you've got to, you've got to affirm, you've got to make a vision board, all of that stuff. And sometimes it works for people, sometimes it doesn't. I know in my own life, I've done all kinds of manifestation things, and I've had amazing results, and sometimes it just falls flat. So tell us what you think about manifestation. What does it mean to you?
Great question, Royce. And I'd like to pick up on what you just said, that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, right? And no one really seems to have too much of an answer as to why that is either, or what to do about it.
Yeah.
Neville Goddard, one of the most famous and one of my favorite manifestation teachers, said it depends on the degree of naturalness that you feel having that thing would be, or becoming that person would be. And he's right. But the thing that he didn't have was an answer or a methodology to then make it feel more natural for you. And I know you talk a lot about the subconscious, and it really does come down to the subconscious. So it's then the requirement is that, as well as doing the visualization, the affirmation, which is key, and that can be enough for some people, but for the majority of people, especially if you're reaching for something big, you're not going to be in alignment to it. Okay, there's going to be a gap between where you are now and where you want to get to, and in the in between the two, there are a series of blocks and a series of actions that you're going to need to take. So yes, it's healing, and it's looking at the parts of you that don't feel good enough, parts of you that aren't ready, the parts that are fearful. What would happen if I actually genuinely let that come in? Now, look, all of my clients always say, no, I really want it. And I'm like, no, you don't. You say you do, and I've been there myself. We absolutely do want it on one level, but there's at least one part of us that doesn't want it.
Mm-hmm.
That part can often be a very loud and upset and scared part, and that's enough to take the ship in a completely different direction and to block our manifestations and to lead to a sabotaging. I liken it to an old Viking rowing ship with 100 oarsmen. Okay, so you can have your intention set, you've got your hand at the tiller, but if you've got even 2 or 3 people who are rowing in the wrong direction, that's going to end up taking you somewhere completely different. So you have to get all of your oarsmen into alignment, and sometimes that's easy and quick, and other times, depending how big it is, what you want, and how persistent you are doing the work, it can take a long time. So I've had things I've manifested within hours, haven't had to do any work. And then I've had things that have taken literally years, almost in fact, decade for 1 or 2 of the bigger ones to actually come to fruition. So it really just depends. But one thing I will say is it's an amazing journey to take regardless, because ultimately I call it it's the hero's journey, really. That's the missing piece. You have to, in the hero's journey, what happens? You have to go on your own personal mission. It takes you massively outside your comfort zone. In it, you have to face your dragons, the demons, you have to overcome them, and then you become like the stronger version of yourself. Then you go back to the Shire, to your kind of place you're at peace and calm, but you're a new person and you found the treasure. And the treasure ultimately is within you, because it's only you standing between what you want and what you'll allow yourself to have.
Yeah.
So there's no blocks externally, it's only you. And if you haven't got it yet, it's because part of you doesn't want it, and you just have to keep digging and working on yourself until it comes.
Yeah. What about the issue of timing? I've given it a title, I call it divine timing. And we might want it today, but on a bigger, more universal level, or on our own evolutionary level, there's a part of us that says, not really, it needs to happen in 2030, because that's when all the pieces will come together and the right people will be there and the world will be ready for it. What about that timing issue?
Well, first of all, the world is definitely going to be ready for it in 2030. I'm pretty sure. The timing's a big one. I remember in 2015 being really frustrated that a big thing I was manifesting hadn't come to me yet. And I was like, for God's sake, why won't this happen? This is so frustrating. I just want it now. Like, I'm struggling here. I could really do with help. Come on, God, come on, universe. Let's do it. Now, today, that thing still hasn't manifested. I'm still focused on it. I'm still working on it. But I can tell you, I'm so glad that it didn't happen in 2015, because in no way, shape, or form would I have been ready for it. I feel pretty well equipped now, but clearly it hasn't yet happened. But I think it could happen anytime now. But even if it's another year, I know I'll be that much better prepared, that much stronger. And it's about building the strong enough foundation within you that's strong enough to receive it and to let it come in without self-sabotaging, and self-sabotage can be anything. It can even just be, actually, you're not doing your visualization. That's self-sabotage. There's always a reason. And then you've just got to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to remember that, if you're asking for something large like that, everything has to fall into place, you know?
True. Very
Yeah.
true. Yeah, and who knows who else is involved, and
Mhm.
if it's a partner, that partner might still be married. Who knows, right? So there is a large element of surrender required,
Mhm. Yeah,
which a lot of people struggle with. Sometimes people also have lessons to learn along the way themselves. So
definitely.
maybe they need to learn patience. So guess what? You're going to wait another few years until you really learn patience and surrender. And so many times when a person, not giving up, but when a person fully surrenders, so many times it then drops in like the next day. I've
Yeah.
seen that so many times.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of that, I think, is letting go of an attachment to it. I mean, they talk about that in Buddhism, that, you know, the you have to let go of your attachment. You have to let go of needing this thing to make you happy. Do you
Mm.
talk about that with your clients at all?
I do. That is one of the insider secrets in my forthcoming book, is the need to let go, and where to start with that, because people don't quite understand that so readily. So where to start with it is to imagine that, let's say you want the dream relationship. Okay. So where you would start with that is you would journal on how you would feel if you never ever got that dream relationship. Okay. That's going to show you what your attachment and what's underneath it. So if you never got it, for example, it might make you feel really rubbish. You might feel not good enough. You might feel really sad. So straight away, all the emotions that are hidden away, they're coming to the surface. Then what you do is you work through each of those emotions until you get to a place where you feel okay, or ideally good about it. You're like, yeah, I'd be okay. Yeah, I feel good enough anyway. So, what's a new partner difference with a new partner, mate? Yeah, it'd be nice, but it's not the end of the world because I feel good already. So I no longer need the partner for that. Now, by doing that and letting go, what you also do is you change your underlying frequency to a frequency of, actually, I feel good enough as I am. Therefore, someone can find you and meet you on the level of you're good enough as you are. Whereas if you needed that because deep down you didn't feel good enough, you're probably not going to attract the right sort of partner anyway. So it's really multifaceted, but that letting go is it's so important.
Yeah. And nobody can make you feel good about yourself except you. So, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what about action steps? Is that part of the process that you have people do? Because I always make sure that when I'm working with somebody and they have these realizations and they let go of the blocks, I then have them focus on, okay, now what, even a baby step, what do you need to do as a statement to the universe that I'm doing this? So, how do you incorporate that?
Yeah, that can be a part of it. Often is. Depends on the person, partly. So sometimes you'll get people who really come to you specifically as a coach and want you to kind of be giving them good direction and to be chasing and to be having kind of daily kind of WhatsApp check-ins. How you doing with this? What's happening with that? Just to keep them on track. Other people absolutely do not want that. So I tailor it personally. What I do always get people to do is check in with their own hearts, their own inner guidance, and to see what the heart wants of them. Do they need, and that, if you're not familiar with that might sound a bit strange, but you can have a literal conversation with your heart chakra. You can go inside, close your eyes. I get people to imagine taking their brain out of their head, put it on the table, let go of thinking, and let the answer come from somewhere deeper. So the question might be, what do I need to do? Is there anything I need to do, first of all, to move forward with this relationship? If the answer is yes, then you ask, okay, great. What do I need to do? Maybe you need to join a dating website. Maybe you need to go and get some photos taken. Maybe you just need to start smiling at people that you're attracted to. That in itself can bring up all of those things can bring up a ton of resistance.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I do get people to do is I get them to practice the healing tools that I use, so that they can do a lot of the work between our sessions, because you can do a lot in a one session a week, but if you can get them working on themselves every day, they're going to move forward probably 10 times faster.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that empowerment piece is big.
And I read on, I guess, your website somewhere, it says that a lot of times you intuitively see whatever it is that is unconsciously blocking them. How does that work in what you do with people?
Heaven knows how it works, but I just know things.
Yeah.
I remember how long ago, 15 years ago, when I met that first meditation teacher I mentioned after I had the burnout. And at the end of one of her workshops, she said to me, I think you should do this, this, and that. And I think it's because of this. And I stood there with my jaw on the floor because it felt so true what she'd said. And I was like, how do you know this stuff? And now I find that like I'm doing exactly what she did and probably a bit more. And people are similarly in awe. But I say to people, hey, you've got exactly the same gifts and powers as I have. You just need to keep doing the work, keep chipping away at yourself. You become a clearer and clearer channel yourself. And you'll start to know things as well if you choose to tune in. Not that you should be scared of that, because you don't have to use those gifts. But if you feel called to, you can. And hey, intuition can be a lifesaver, right? Even if you're not working as a coach or a healer. The other things I would say, if you want to develop that intuition, is change your toothpaste. Some people will be shocked by this, but get rid of the fluoride toothpaste. It's calcifying your pineal gland, which is the seat of your intuition. So get rid of that if you haven't already. Check your local water supply. Are they adding fluoride? If they are, you need to get a really good filter, ideally a whole house filter, so that you don't absorb it in the bath or in the shower and you're not drinking it. You definitely don't want to be boiling fluoridated water, because it creates fluorine, which is even worse for you. So those two things alone will be huge for your own intuition. Your intuition will go, after a period of time, it will start to increase. And the more you heal, the more you work on yourself, your intuition will get better, because you become a clearer channel for the things that want to come to you. And that applies to both intuition and it applies to manifestation. So that's a very little spoken about part of manifestation, is the clearer the channel you are, based upon how much inner work you've done, the easier it becomes to manifest. You'll start to just manifest things that you've hardly even focused on. And people will be like, how did you do that? I'm not sure, but it's good.
Yeah. So I feel the need to share this amazing story of something that I manifested one time.
Yeah.
It amazes me every time I think about it. My husband and I we just love whales. It's one of our passions. And we have gone on probably 3 or 4 whale watching trips, one of which was in Maui, the whale capital of the world, and no whales showed up. Every time we've gone on a whale watching trip, no whales have shown up.
Oh.
And it was just, it got to the point where we were laughing about it. It's like, we must scare them off or something. And so we were driving down the coast in Malibu. We had gone somewhere for the day. And we were talking about it. Like, we'll never, ever, ever see whales. And we're having this whole discussion. And all of a sudden I looked to my right. And for those of you that know the coast route in Malibu, it's probably maybe 100 feet away from the actual ocean. And I looked to my right and a whale was coming out. And I went, oh my God. I mean, we stopped the car. We didn't stop the car because there were cars behind us, but we slowed down and I said, oh my God. So it's that kind of thing that it can happen in really bizarre ways, I always think of that in terms of manifesting. It's like, yeah, who knows when it's going to pop out of the ocean and show itself to you,
Oh, absolutely. One of my old teachers, he lives in Canada, and in an area where they don't really ever have crop circles. And he was sitting in his hot tub behind his house with a few friends one evening. Said, wouldn't it be great if we had a crop circle here? The next morning, in the cornfield next to his house, there's a crop circle. All the local TV are there. He was blown away, and he's manifested a lot.
Wow. That's fun.
But
That's
I
amazing.
really, just to reiterate, that manifestation, so often you have to do the inner work and the healing. One of the first examples I ever saw of this blew my mind, and I still use it with all my clients today. I was at a healing retreat, 2-day retreat, and we did the end of the first day. A lady went on to the front, and she was being worked on by the teacher. And he said, what would you like? And she said, well, I'm estranged from my brother. Haven't seen him for 25 years. All I know, I've lost contact with him, don't even have his number or his email or anything. All I know is he moved to Australia, and we've lost touch. I can't even remember what we argued about. Okay. And I'd like to get back in touch with them. So he did his worked through the emotions and how it made her feel and the sadness and whatever else it was that came up for about an hour. Then we went home for the end of day one, come back in the morning for the start of day two. The teacher says, everyone have a good night, any experiences, anything you want to share? She puts her hand up. She says, you're not going to believe this, but when I got home last night, I've been home half an hour, and my brother called me out of the blue.
Oh, wow.
I hadn't been in touch with him. He just called me. We had a lovely conversation. And at the end of it, I said, I just have to know, why did you call me tonight of all nights? It's been 25 years. He said, you know what? I had no intention to, but about an hour before I called you, I just had a compulsion. I just felt, no, I've got to call her right now.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So, you know, you change whatever it is within yourself, and the universe changes and aligns itself to you.
It really does. I've had so many students have things like that, and as well as myself happen, that it still blows my mind. It really does. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just have a few minutes left, and I want you to talk a little bit more about discovering your life purpose. I talk about that a lot in my program. What is your take on that? What is your definition of life purpose?
Okay, so you have people who give purpose to their lives through work or family or church or something like that. And that's one way of looking at purpose. But I help people find their one and single true unique life purpose. And my experience is that everyone has their own unique life purpose, whether you have realized it yet or not. And the process is kind of the same that I take my clients all through. It's you have to deal with whatever's playing out in life right now, the fears, doubts, insecurities, the problems with relationship, problems at work, this, that, and the other. You build your foundation. You get to a place where you feel strong enough that you could go and do something bigger. And then often, sadly, when I'm not talking to people, their life purpose drops in. They might be on the loo, or they might be on the bus or the tube or wherever it is. And then I get these text messages going, oh my God, I found my life purpose. You said it would happen and it did. And I love those texts, but I wish I was there. And then obviously I can jump on the phone with them as soon as I can to find out what it is. And most of the time, it's things that they can it kind of makes a lot of sense. It often brings together a lot of the things that they've been doing in their lives, and they feel they always feel excited by it. There are also rarer occasions when the thing that comes through as their purpose is a little bit left field. It's a little bit unexpected. It's a little bit like, oh, I wasn't expecting that, but actually that really interests me, or I'm going to go and look into it, you know? So, and then what I find is people typically have to grow. So it's not too big. Everyone expects, that's the other thing. Everyone expects it's going to be save the planet, save the galaxy, right? It's very rarely that. It normally comes in small bite-sized amounts, big enough that it's going to stretch and challenge you, but not so big that you short circuit and never ever start. And then what happens is, as you do the work and you take the steps towards it, it brings up the fears, doubts, insecurities. Then when you get to a point where you could not when you have done it, but when you can fulfill your life purpose, when you have the capability, then what happens is the next iteration of your life purpose drops in.
Yep.
That also might happen when you're on the bus or on the loo. Okay. And it normally builds upon what the first iteration was, and then the next one will come in, build on that. I'm on about my 7th iteration. Gets bigger each time, always triggers the bejeebies out of me. However, it moves me in the right direction. And I'll give you an example from my own life purpose. So the first iteration dropped in, funny enough, when I was in New York on a retreat. And it was, let me remember the wording. To stand tall and proud in my light and to spread love around the world. Now, my first thought was that actually feels really a bit fluffy. However, I knew at the same time that for me, it meant I needed to get onto and overcome my not insignificant fear of public speaking. So I joined Toastmasters, if you're familiar with that, the public speaking organization. Highly recommend them. And I started going to their weekly meetings and worked through all the fears, doubts, insecurities that brought up. I went there for 9 months. And then it got to a point where I was like, okay, I can do this now. And then almost immediately, the next iteration came in. It was to help 1 million people. So I was like, how am I going to do that? So I started writing a book. And then I thought, okay, what else can I do? Okay, I'll do a podcast. Started doing a podcast, started doing a blog, started doing lots of posts and putting myself out there, which felt very uncomfortable at the time. But it was building to overcome my fear of being seen, of public speaking. And then I got to a point where I was doing all those things. I've been doing it for about a year, 18 months. And then it was like, boom, here's the next iteration. Okay, we're going to help even more people. That triggered me again. It's then like, okay, how do I scale this? What do I have to do? Work through all of that stuff. And it just keeps building in that way, but not in such a way that you get too overwhelmed and don't do anything. So yeah, long-winded answer, but that's my experience of life purpose.
Yeah. I have a very short definition of life purpose that I give people, which fits right along with what you're saying. All of our purpose, we all have the same purpose. It's to give and receive love in the form that it's meant to take for us.
I like that.
There you go. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be save the whales. It doesn't have to be find the cure for cancer. It's just whatever your soul is here to do, which is to give and receive love in some form.
I love that. And that, I'd say that's about right. For you, it could be find your porpoise. How about that? So, gag.
Oh, God. Oh, I meant to mention, for those of you that don't speak British, the loo is the toilet, correct?
Oh, that is correct. Sorry, guys. Didn't think of that. Yeah.
We should have a little translating machine here. So tell us how to reach you and what everybody wants to know about you. Fill us in.
Okay, so you can reach me via my website. It's adamtallamy.com. We'll hopefully put a link in the bio. It's ADAMTALLAM for mother y.com. Or you can connect with me on social media. It's my name or some variation of that across all the platforms. And look, I'd like to make an offer to your listeners today for at least for the next month, because who knows how long this podcast will be out there. I'd like to offer your listeners a free taster session, one-to-one coaching session with me, 0 obligation. If you feel called to come and do the work or potentially interested to work with me. And even if you're not, I'd love to help you to move forward. So feel free to get in touch. You can email me through the website or DM me through Instagram or something. And let's see if we can help you move forward, whether it's with changing your life, relationships, career, manifestation, or life purpose. Doesn't matter. Whatever you need, whatever you're looking to get, whatever you want, I will help you to do that.
That sounds wonderful. And good luck on your book. I hope that reaches 1 million people like it's supposed to. Yes. It
absolutely will. I'm visualizing that with full focus.
Good. Well, thank you so much, Adam. It's been really delightful having you here.
Thank you.
Just want to remind everybody that I will be here next week, Wednesday, and tune in. And I realized after I announced my wonderful panel discussion about awakening, I didn't give you a date. It's going to be on August 8th at 8 a.m. So there's 888 right there. And I'm not into astrology at all, but I was told that it's the Lion's Gate or something like that. I have no idea what that means, but it's supposed to be a very powerful date. So remember 888. And we'll be sending out a lot more information about that and a link to log on. And I really appreciate all of you listening, and go out there and manifest, find your purpose, and give Adam a call and get his wonderful work. And I will see you all next week. Thank you again, Adam.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Royce. Much appreciated. All the best, guys.
Yes.